Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, host of the Riderflex podcast and founder and CEO of our day job recruiting firm, Riderflex. We hope you enjoy this episode. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast for updates and news. If you haven't already, check out the series of books we've published on hiring, interviewing, and overall career advice titled The Riderflex Guide. And finally, today's episode is brought to you by Class 6 Partners. Are you ready to sell your business or raise capital? Class 6 Partners guides you through the entire process, from business optimization to securing the perfect deal. With over $3 billion in transactions, they turn your business dreams into reality. Visit class6partners.com to start your journey today. Artug,
Yeah.
thanks for being on the Riderflex podcast today. I appreciate it, sir. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Steve. Happy to be here.
So you're from Turkey, right? Originally?
Yep, I am from Turkey. I was born in Turkey, raised in Turkey. I came to the US when I was 26 for grad school. And my plan was to go back to Turkey, but I found a job. I stayed, I got married. Typical story. So it has been 18 years.
Tell me about your family tell me about growing up and your family in Turkey a little bit. Give us some history.
Yeah, so I'm from Western Turkey. I was raised in Izmir, on the coast. It's a beautiful town, and I spent most of my life in Izmir. I went to college in Izmir, and then I moved to Istanbul for grad school. I studied mechanical engineering, and then I did masters on mechanical engineering on vehicle dynamics. And then I decided to experience living abroad and see how it goes. My initial thought was going to Europe, but then I ended up in Boston, so which I loved, and it was in 2006, and since then I've been living in Boston. My family, my parents, my brother, they're all in Turkey. So in Istanbul and Izmir. So I go once a year and visit them, and they
Okay.
go once a year. They come here once a year. So yeah.
What'd your folks do?
So they're retired, my parents. So they're enjoying their retirement in a beautiful city in Izmir. And my brother, he's a professor. He lives in Istanbul at Bosphorus University. Yeah.
Wow, they must be very proud. They got a professor and a C-level executive out of it. That's good for them, huh?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
What did your dad do for a living, or both? What'd your mom and dad do for a living?
My dad was in human resources. He worked for a government company. At the time, some of those companies, he worked at a paper factory as the human resources manager, and my mom was in human resources and sometimes in accounting. So in the same company. So they worked there. At their time, people used to work for like 30, 40 years in one company.
Yes, yes.
So they started at that company and they retired in the beginning of 2000s. So
Now I
yeah.
have to ask, is that was she working for him as an employee and then a relationship started? What's the story there?
Oh no, they're from the same neighborhood. So my dad was
Oh,
teaching English to my mom, but no, they ended up working in the same company after they got married.
I
But
see.
for those reasons, when my dad was the HR manager, my mom wasn't supposed to be in the same department as an
Right.
employee. So they moved her to a different section, different department. So it was always like moving around. Yeah.
Interesting. They were both in the people business, so to speak, and then you took a different path. You didn't want to go down that road. You wanted to be an engineer.
Yeah, engineering at the time, and I think it's still true in Turkey, engineering is very big.
Okay.
Physician, engineering, law. So those are the major professions that
Okay.
were popular. And I think I was influenced by my brother. So he studied engineering. So so I
Ah.
got into engineering as well.
Were you a good kid the whole time? Were you like straight A student, good kid, or did you ever get in any trouble? Tell us about it when you were younger.
I think I was a good kid, not like always a straight A type of kid, but mostly a good kid. Yes.
Okay.
I didn't create many troubles when I was little. Yeah.
What did or I guess it's a two-part question. When you were growing up, what was your thought or impression
Mhm.
about the US just based on what you heard, Americans, I guess.
Right, right, right.
What was your impression then, and how has it changed since you've lived
Mhm.
here?
Yeah. So most of the impression comes from the movies, Hollywood movies, that is not entirely accurate, not inaccurate, but somewhere in between. So I didn't know a lot about the life in the US up until I came to Boston. And you can't really simplify it with one typical lifestyle. It differs in the US. People in Boston live a very different life than maybe people in Arizona.
Yes,
So it's a big country, more than 300 million people. You can't just say this is America, this is
right.
US. Boston is more like a European city than maybe the rest of the US. So that made it easier for me to get used to.
I
And it's
see.
very like many students coming from abroad, so it made it easier for me to get used to.
Okay.
It wasn't surprisingly, it wasn't a culture shock in the beginning. Maybe I was super excited to be here, and got used to the lifestyle pretty quickly. Yeah.
Did you speak English before you came?
I did, yes. So I started learning English after elementary school, and I don't think I was very fluent, like because day-to-day language is very different than what you speak at school or what you learn at school. So yeah.
Give me one, I know we could talk this next question, we could talk about it for hours, but just give me one interesting cultural difference, whether it's, I don't know, something, how you eat or how you shake hands or how you have dinner or how do you hug, do you not hug? Give me give me a cool, fascinating cultural difference.
Yeah. So somewhat funny story. The food culture is very different.
Okay.
So in Turkey, you say words. You spend hours at the dinner table. Like if you go out to dinner 8 p.m., 7 p.m., you leave the table at midnight. And
Wow.
like
Wow.
not because you eat a lot, you just spend the time
I see.
at the
Okay.
table. So and in here it's different. You go, they take the order in like 5 minutes, it's at your table in the 10th minute, and then you finish it within 2 hours and you leave. And then the next person comes. And they keep coming and asking you if you want to check. um, so I was living with my roommates. They were from different parts of US, but they were mostly from the US. And one day, and different floors, like about like 20 people, they said, let's go out to dinner. And I was like, well, great. So we went out to dinner, we ordered, it came, we chat a little bit, it was done, 2 hours, we left. I was like, what was that? So that was surprising.
That's pretty cool. And it's still like that today. It's still like that now when you go back home.
Oh yeah, it's still like that. Yeah, you spend the whole night. Yes, it didn't change.
All right, so you get out of school. What was the plan? What did you want to be?
Well, after college, I honestly didn't have any idea what I really want to do. So I started grad school. So it was a safe harbor. So while I was figuring out what I really want to do, and I started living in Istanbul, a lot bigger city than my hometown. So, and then I decided to leave somewhere else outside of Turkey just to experience it. But the idea was never to go for good and like try experience it and then come back to Turkey. So again, I was looking around. Should I find a job? Should I apply for grad school for PhD? So I applied for PhD.
Huh?
It was
Huh?
relatively easier to go for a grad school than directly finding a job, at least for me at the time. So I got accepted to Northeastern, and that was the only school actually. I was pretty late in the application, so most people start applying like months in advance. This was like a last minute decision. Uh, I got accepted. I looked around Boston. I liked it. I'm like, I can live here. So, really, I came with pretty much no plan. I got on the plane. I didn't know anybody in Boston, in the US, like literally no connection. I rented my room through Craigslist. Like I had no idea if that room really exists. I transferred the money. I'm like full in. So yeah,
That's
it
good.
was a pretty big adventure in the beginning. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Was there a few times there where you're like, Dad, can I just come home? I don't know. This is a little
No, I like that challenge. I don't give up very easily.
okay.
So I didn't. Around 2012, before I met my wife, I was thinking, should I go back? Should I stay here? And then I
Yeah.
made the decision, like you can't be in between. I know people who are like in their late 50s, they're like still, should we go back? I'm like, you didn't, like maybe it's time to just make a decision. So yeah, I decided around 2012, after 6 years in Boston, I'm like, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna build my life around Boston area. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right, very good. I mean, great career, software engineer, product manager, moving up in different jobs, kind of, moving through your career. Got into robotics a little bit too, for robotics companies, which I think is fascinating. I want to ask you about how did you, jumping into you kind of more current career stuff, how did you get lured away from the robotics company to join Mercury? That's my first question.
Yeah. So I was enjoying robotics. I still enjoy robotics, automation, technology. Uh, Mercury, one day, like I was looking around, what else can I do? How can I grow in my career? Sometimes you get stuck in one company under the management and you can't really grow as fast as you would like. Mercury reached out. I talked to the owner of Mercury, Josh Meadow. He told me his vision, what he wants to do with Mercury. And that sparked the idea, like, yeah, we can do something really big in here. So that's how it started. I came almost like an individual contributor. I had no one reporting to me. And the
Okay.
idea was to build the product. So I came as the VP of product, but there was no product management function.
I see.
He had this vision, the idea, and then he needed someone to execute on that idea. So, and since I've been building products for years and building teams, so I knew what to do. So I came in 2022. The company has been around since 1984. So it's an old company. The owners, the founders of the company, they are not with us anymore. They sold the company in 2020. So Josh bought it after he graduated from Harvard Business School, and it's called ETA, Entrepreneurship Through Acquisition. So he
Okay.
bought the company, and he has been growing it since then. It has been 4 years, and I've been with him for more than 2 years.
Now it's
Yeah.
a logistics company, right? Give us the Mercury overview for the listeners.
Right.
Give us
Yeah.
the elevator.
So in a nutshell, it's a tech-enabled healthcare and logistics company. Like, and we offer all sorts of services for healthcare and life sciences companies that they might need in their day-to-day shipping. And we break it up into three markets. Healthcare life sciences is a big market. It encapsulates many things underneath. So we focus on three things: medical devices. These are like MRI machines for testing, or machines for testing blood. The second one is diagnostic kits. These are different types of test kits. Let's say if you have cancer, they test it, or we did lots of COVID tests during the pandemic. And the third group is life science research. This is like an early stage biotech company. They start with research, they go into clinical trial, and then once they get the approval, FDA approval, then they go into manufacturing, pharmaceutical, so high volume. So we offer services in those three markets. Mainly, it's a white glove service, time and temperature sensitive. So our clients, though, we are not like shipping bulk, like it's not like shipping phones or laptops. We do that as well for our clients, but our specialty is in time temperature sensitive, like time critical. they needed to be there tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. because there is a surgery or there is some research that need to start at that time. And it needs to get there at a certain temperature, like 4 to 8 C, or below 0 Celsius. So,
Okay.
and we maintain all those conditions. We track, we have a platform. So in order to do this, it's a services business. We have squads. Those are like client support teams.
Okay.
We call them squad because Josh is a veteran. So we use some military terms. So each squad is assigned to a group of clients. So if you work with us, you have a dedicated client. They work with you. When you call, it's not just like 1-800 number someone picks up. It's your team. It's almost like insourcing our team into your logistics function.
I see.
Yeah. And we provide the technology. So to be able to initiate the shipment, track the shipment, make payments. If there is any issue throughout the shipment, we can communicate with our clients through the portal. And that portal comes free, so they can access and manage all their shipment needs.
Is the software, so the software comes with your logistical service. It's not an
Correct.
additional fee.
Correct, exactly. That's free. We offer it to all clients. They sign up, they are on the portal, they can ship at any time they need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So really, it is almost kind of a life and death matter, right? Like you're shipping stuff that people could die if it doesn't get there in time. I hate to be so
Correct.
dramatic, but I'm
Yes.
I'm listening to what you're saying.
Right. There's literally life attached to every shipment. So like, and our like purpose, why we do this, like to move healthcare forward, to help
Okay.
these healthcare life science companies. Their focus is not really logistics. Their specialty is
Right.
not logistics, but they need
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah.
and they want to focus on what they are really good at and then leave the logistics to us.
I'm just imagining if I'm a heart transplant patient and I'm waiting for something to get shipped in, whatever it is, my new heart, I'm just using it. I'm just making something up, but I'm just imagining thinking, okay, yeah, I don't want nothing against the UPS drivers, but I might want somebody a little more.
Right. Exactly. Yes. I mean,
Uh,
you can't really put a price tag on it, right?
yeah.
You
Yeah,
can't lose it.
exactly. Like you
It needs to
cannot
get
mess it
that.
up. Like it can't be messed up. Like it's got to be there.
Oh yeah, exactly. We actually work with a client. They manufacture devices for organ transplantation.
I see.
So then we ship those devices for them. So yeah.
Okay. Wow, I bet you have some fascinating customers. Have you done anything for Neuralink yet? Have you shipped anything for Neuralink at all?
We work with them at some point.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of a big deal. All right,
Yeah.
very good. How big is the company, employees?
We have about 87 people
Okay.
currently. Yeah.
Okay. And were you brought on to build the software that now supports the company?
Right. So we built the software in Turkey.
Okay.
There was a software, so they started building it. They built it in 1990s. They
Okay.
maintained it for a long time, but
All right.
it wasn't the state of art. It was really behind the current technology
I see.
trends. So we are building a brand new software. We started this 2 years ago. We released it, but it's an ongoing process. We keep adding new features. Yeah.
Is there any opportunity or plan to sell that as a SaaS service to other logistical companies at all, or just wondering?
There is always a debate around it. Should we sell the software? Should we offer it for free? At this point, it makes more sense to provide it as a tool to our clients to make shipping easier for them. But down the road, you never know, offer it to other logistics companies
Yeah.
can be a path. We just need it to be perfectly done that can serve to other companies as well. So it's really crafted to our needs at this point. But
Okay.
down the road, it might be an option. Yeah.
Did you always have aspirations to make it to the C level, to the C-suite, or that wasn't really a particular target. It just kind of happened, or I'm just curious.
It was a goal, yes. So I mean, you can't really plan these things in advance, but
That's true.
you have an idea and you just work hard and try to get there. And yes, I was always motivated to get to the C level. Yes.
Do you have any good stories around when you first got promoted and you went home one night and you told your wife, you're like, oh shit, okay, yeah, this is a new one that I haven't faced before. This is a new challenge. You got anything you want to share from the early experiences where
It
you were?
wasn't like, well, my wife knows I'm ambitious. Like I would like to move up in my career. So she's not like totally surprised, but she knew this is gonna be a new challenge. I'm gonna be extremely busy at work. So she was supportive always, to be honest. Like the reason I was able to take, and sometimes you need to take risks to be able to move up. Like
Yes.
joining Mercury, maybe in the beginning was a kind of risk. You don't
Yep.
know all the details,
Yep.
and just any other startup company. She was very supportive. I think at some point I was saying like, once we get through this year, next year will be great, and like, but that's never the story. Next year is always more challenging and more challenging. Things change, evolve.
Yeah.
But I stopped saying next year will be a lot easier. So
And it's it's not like you worked for GE, so there's no 8-month training course to learn how to be a COO. It's congratulations, Artug, you're COO. Here you go. Figure it out.
right, that's true. You don't have that ramp up time. You learn the job while you are doing it. You figure things out. You make mistakes. You learn from your mistakes. But yes, that's right. I had good coaches supporting me.
Okay, good.
I worked with a good group of coaches, and like some of them are friends, so I can always go and ask their opinion and feedback. We built a really strong leadership team
Good.
during this time. It really helps. So when you work with the right people, then life becomes a lot easier in a different way. There are still challenges, but I think the biggest challenge was like wrong people off the bus, right people on the bus, and right people in the right seat. Once you get there, then figuring things out, it's a evolution. Like it takes time, but it happens.
You know, I'm so grateful to the owners of the company. This is way before I started Riderflex. I made my first C-level, position at COO. It was an apparel company. We were doing about $40 million in revenue. God, I'm so thankful that they were patient with me and, let me screw up from time to time. Because when I first got promoted, I think I was 42. I think I was 41 maybe. And boy, I look back now and I go, gosh, I definitely was not qualified at the time they gave me that job, but they were patient with me, and I learned and grew. And so the point to the listeners I'm trying to make is the first time you make C-level, hopefully it's either with a company big enough that has a good training or mentoring course, or it's with a small company that has patient owners and founders that will let you learn a little bit along the way, right? Because I think that's critical for success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in my case, the management team, the owner of the company, he was very patient, and we learned together some of the things. So that helped a lot.
Yep.
And still learning. Yeah.
Do you want to be CEO someday of a company? Is that the goal?
I would like to be a CEO. Yes.
Okay, good. Do you get to go to I'm assuming, do you get to go to the board meetings or do you get to, do you get to be involved in everything?
I mean, in here, we don't have a board.
Okay.
So like, we don't have VC funding.
Okay.
We run the company. The leadership team is in charge. But
Okay.
I used to go to board meetings in my previous companies.
All right.
They are they can be stressful,
You
challenging
got
meetings.
you got that right, brother.
Yeah. So, but it's another level of challenge. When I feel I'm ready, I would like to probably be a CEO at some point. Yeah.
When I used to do my board meetings, this was with another company. We'd always do the board meetings at the hotel at the airport because they'd all fly in, you know.
Mm.
And God, just getting ready for it, you know, just a week in advance getting ready for it. And, you know, I was the CEO of this other furniture company and just preparing for it. It's just a lot of energy, right? And then doing the presentation and then getting hammered in the meeting and, you know, dealing with the questions. So what I learned to do was I would just get a hotel room at the location of the meeting so that right after the meeting, when they all took off and flew home or whatever, I just went straight to the bar and stayed at the same hotel that I was in. I was like, I'm just going to crash here because I can't move. I can't think. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's super stressful.
Yes, those are challenging meetings, especially if things are sometimes tough, like nothing is easy in
Yes.
business. So
Yes.
it's not always a happy story, but
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. Okay. So I want to ask you, by the way, for the listeners, let me just get the website. So it is shipmercury.com, correct?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So anybody interested in your service, that's the best thing for them to do. Yep.
Exactly. Yes. They can reach out to
Okay.
our website and then our sales team will take it from there.
By the way, is it affordable for startups like some of these startup biotech companies and stuff? I mean, are you
Oh, yeah.
okay?
Absolutely. I mean, we don't really sell price. It's the service and the quality of the service we provide. But
Okay.
we also offer discounts compared to big shipping companies.
Okay.
So yes, we have many companies from incubators. They start with
Okay.
us.
Great.
That's one of the paths actually. Like we grow with them. They grow, we grow. They make more shipments. But yes,
Awesome.
it's affordable.
Okay, very good. I was going to ask you this a second ago. You know, when you see people come up to C-level, I'm always interested in what function they came from, right? Were they
Right.
sales, were they ops, were they accounting, were they HR, were they what was their function before?
Yeah.
And I could you know, I have debates with my executive friends on what function ends up making the best CEO. You know, and I think my general answer is it depends on where the company is in the life cycle and in the stability of their financial situation, right? I mean, if you're in a free fall situation, in a crisis management situation where it's all about the cash and the expenses, okay, well, maybe a former CFO could be the CEO for a little bit, but I wouldn't have a CFO in a growth situation for a CEO, right? You
Right.
know,
I mean, it's funny. I was reading an article about this weekend, exactly on this topic. What makes a good CEO? What was it like 20, 30 years ago? What is it? What is it now?
yeah,
And like in the past, it was more finance, sales. These days, it's moving towards more product people, product management,
and
product
ops,
development,
yeah, and ops
and
and product,
ops.
yeah,
Exactly. And because they have more client mindset,
yeah,
not just the numbers game. So I think it's shifting in
yeah.
the last
Agreed.
10, 15 years. Yeah.
Man, if you know, if you can understand the product and you can, well, all good product managers can make the layman talk to the IT guys and make them understand each other, right?
Right.
But if you can understand the product and you're operationally tactically sufficient to keep the train on time, but
Right.
you can step up to strategy and talk vision. If you can do all of those things, I mean,
Right.
you're good. You're good to go.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
But
I mean, you still need to understand the financial
sure,
aspect of the business
sure.
to a certain level, but yes.
Yep, agreed. Okay, so I want to talk about the last part of this. I'm just, you know, AI and robotics and biotech even. I mean,
Mhm.
God, huge topics right now, Artug, huge. I mean, we are in a fascinating time, aren't we?
Oh yeah, I mean, exactly, like biotech and automation, AI, robotics, huge.
I mean, let me see what my first question for you is. I asked you about Neuralink earlier. The reason I brought that up is because I listened to Alex Friedman's recent podcast where he interviewed the Neuralink executive team.
Mhm.
He interviewed Elon and then the neurologist and the head of the
Yeah.
tech, and he interviewed the whole like leadership team for the company.
Mhm.
Fascinating. Just I found the whole conversation fascinating around, gosh, where is this going? Like where? So my first question is this: how do you feel about our chips and brains, so to speak, for a lack of a better term? I mean, would you ever, as a software engineer guy, as a robotics guy, like, would you? What are your thoughts?
It it still seems futuristic, right? When it really is not. Like they are working on it. They might be close to it, close to doing it, achieving it. It still feels in a sci-fi movie.
It
Like
does, doesn't it? It does. It does, right?
right. But if you consider what changed in the last 10, 15 years, 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
it's doable. Um,
Yep. I
the
listening
purpose
to
matters, like why we do it, what's
bingo.
the
Yeah, you're right.
outcome, what's the benefit for the humanity,
Yes.
is the real question.
I totally agree. When I was listening to the interview, they put it in a guy that was paralyzed, of course, and the whole objective was to let his eye move the mouse cursor and be able to do things.
Mhm.
And that's their whole plan, at least at first, is to help people that have problems of some kind, whether it's mental issues or physical issues that the brain can that they can do stuff in the brain to help these people live a better life, which I think is great. The interesting thing though is it'll obviously go further than that. What next? It'll be, can it just make me smarter? Can it just do this? Can it do that? And then it's like, oh, okay. And then pretty soon you meet people and they're like, oh, he's one of the guys that's got the chips. So his brain is attached to Chat GPT faster than mine. So he's gonna be smarter than me. And then everybody's gonna be like, I want one too. I, you
Right.
know,
Exactly. I mean, people talk about regulations. Regulations make things go slower. So there are people who are against regulations in those type of things.
yeah,
If you don't regulate, the counter argument is really like it can go in any direction.
right. How do you
Um,
feel about that, by the way? What's your general thought on regulations with let's go to AI. What's your general thoughts on regulations on AI companies in general? Should they have the freedom to just go for it, or should the government get involved and you know put a bunch of rules in place?
Even with the regulations, how much can you really regulate it? How much can you keep it under control?
Right.
And like with the regulation, will you really kill the innovation and slow something down that might be good for the people? Um, I think governments should keep an eye on it rather than restricting it. And
Okay.
like it was more like an advisory than a regulation, strict
Mm,
regulation.
gotcha.
So, and I
Okay.
think like without strict regulation, with public voice and people really demanding a good outcome as a result of these innovations,
Mhm.
because it's at the end of the day financial benefit, right? Like no one would do it if no one will use it. But maybe it's too naive. At some point, it might need some regulation. It's like putting rules around it. Let's think about the beginning of 1900s. There weren't many cars. Maybe we didn't have as many rules on the road, right?
Good
You
point.
don't
Good
speed
point.
up.
Good
You
point.
you just don't speed up, and maybe there weren't as many signs on the road. And then things changed, evolved, cities grew, more population, more people, more cars. Then there are more rules around it. There are more police officers on the road. So things will figure it out. Like as it evolves, there will be regulations eventually, I believe.
I remember the first time I used ChatGPT. I remember calling my co-founder and I was like, holy cow. I called him up. I'm like, I think the world might have just changed a little bit.
Oh yeah. I use it. I started using a lot. We use it a lot.
Oh yeah. Oh,
You
every
should be
day.
careful. Oh yeah. I mean, it
Oh,
accelerates everything. You can make presentations a lot faster. You can analyze your financials a lot faster. Like, it gives you the right answer for the most part.
for the most
Uh,
part.
but of course, as a company, as an organization, what you share with these AI tools
Yeah, right.
is a question. Like, you should be careful about it. And I hear very frequently, don't share your proprietary information with it, like, because it's gonna learn, it's gonna do what is unique to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, sure. You do have to be careful, but yeah, you're right. It just it makes everybody smarter, faster, and more efficient for the most part. I mean, I told somebody the other day, I said, look, I said, because, there's still some people that, the late adopters, right? The slow adopters. And I told somebody the other day, I said, look, man, I said, if there's a tool out there that's going to make me faster, smarter, and more efficient, I'm going to use it. It's as
right.
simple as that. It's
The
as simple
question
as
is
that.
who is gonna use it a lot better?
That's
Uh,
exactly right.
that's
Because I
gonna
know
distinguish people.
that's right. That's right. Here's a good one. I just had this conversation the other day too. Somebody said, like, well, you need to you got to make sure you fact check everything that's coming out of ChatGPT because it's not always right. And I said, you're right. I said, humans aren't always right either. I said, by the way, how do you fact check it, Johnny? Johnny wasn't his real name. I said, how do you fact check it? He goes, well, I usually Google it. And I said, there you go.
Right.
Yeah, because Google's going to always be right. Okay, Johnny.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah.
But anyway, what was my original question? Oh, I wanted to ask you. Oh, we talked about regulations. Let me ask you about the workforce. So, because I'm in recruiting, right? I'm in the hiring and recruiting candidate business. I'm constantly paying attention as to what's going on because all this could affect me. It's going to affect all of us, but and so I'm watching it closely. Your opinion when you see these articles and some very smart people on the planet are saying yes, millions of jobs affected. And then you got people completely on the other side saying, oh, it's going to be fine. We'll figure it out. We always figure it out. Don't worry about it. Where are you in that mix?
Things will change. When I was in automation, we were always talking about this topic. Will this cause people to lose their jobs? I was working in on an automation system that operates in a warehouse. So like hundreds of people working in the warehouse. When we put this robot, are they going to lose their job? It has been a topic for so long. The question is, their job will change. Right? And some jobs will disappear. And some jobs are not really good for humans. It's not as humane. I worked in the warehousing business. I spent time in warehouses. You wouldn't want to spend 12 hours in a warehouse with no light, constant noise, doing something repetitive. Like I spent almost 3 days at an Amazon warehouse. And like after the third day, I was like done, super tired, like demoralized. It's not easy emotionally and physically. So just like the phone operators, again, in the beginning of 1900s, right? You used to call, they connect you whoever you want to call. And then they disappeared. We don't have phone operators anymore. You call directly. And was it a bad thing? I think it was a good thing, right? You can call someone directly. Similar to warehouse automation or other automation systems, those are not great jobs for humans. Of course, the transition is the pain. Like when you have the technology, when those people don't have the job, what are they gonna do? So that transition time is challenging. Governments will support during that time, probably social security systems to an extent. It's probably a bigger issue in the US than in Europe. There's
Okay.
already a labor shortage in Europe, so these robots are required.
I see.
In the US, we don't have as much labor shortage yet, so it might be a bigger issue down the road. The truth is, automation systems are not as well developed as you would think. So they can't really operate without human in the loop. So you still need people. There's always this lights out warehouse concept, like robots will do everything. I haven't seen a single warehouse that can do this yet.
Okay. Yep. Are you do you think the white collar laptop jobs are more in danger now because of AI than the physical blue collar jobs are from robotics?
Depends on what you do with the laptop as a white collar. So some, yes. But there's gonna be a need for white collar people to do jobs at their laptop. We have tested writing code using AI.
Okay.
Can we accelerate our software development? It's not great.
Okay.
You can't fully develop a software, maybe a piece of software, one functionality, you can just showcase it, but you can't build a suite of products using AI. So those jobs won't go away, but there are jobs like personal assistants, right?
Yes. I mean,
So
we're almost there. I was just yeah. I mean, I think everybody will have their own AI. They will have their own agent or assistant, whatever word you want to
right,
use. And
right.
you'll use the one you like. If you want to use Llama or ChatGPT or Gemini, what you'll pick your favorite assistant, right? Everybody will have one. We're almost there.
Right. Those jobs will definitely go away. Even like others, like if you have a topic to write about, you
Yeah.
can use AI tools.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. You said it. You said a key word, and I've done podcast episodes on this, and I put out articles on it. The transition. I couldn't agree more. It's that transition period is what's going to be bloody, so to speak,
Right.
messy. Okay. I think you're right. I do think, like, quote, we'll figure it out. I think, yes, a bunch of jobs will be eliminated or changed or tweaked, and people will have to move into different professions, and we'll probably settle in, so to speak, as it moves along eventually. But boy, that because the change is so massive, so fast,
Mhm.
it's going to get blown up for a little bit. And you're right. I totally agree. Whether it's universal basic income or some government assistance or something to help people get through the transition will probably be needed. I mean, you probably already know this. Sam Altman and a bunch of people, they're already testing UBI in a bunch of different places.
Right.
And so I do think there'll need to be some support during the transition. Because the change is just so massive, so fast. And boy, I don't want to be the person in charge of figuring that out, figuring out because whatever support system is put in place during the transition, you're going to piss somebody off. Somebody's going to be mad.
Yeah. And not every country will be able to support
Yeah, that too.
transition.
Right.
So it's inhumane, but it will be a part of natural selection almost. Like really,
Yeah.
it's not great, but that's the reality. I always think about this for our kids, for our children, like
Yeah. Good.
what will they do? What jobs will they
Right.
perform? What should they be good at? I don't really have a great answer yet, but my wife was telling me the other day, oh, can you imagine my daughter is almost like a backseat driver sometimes? And then can you imagine when she starts driving? I'm like, You know
She
what?
probably won't.
Maybe she won't need to drive
Yeah, she
because
may. Yeah.
so it's gonna change. Yeah.
That's great. We can wrap it up on that right there. As we wrap it up here. I tell young people all the time, especially as a recruiter, if I'm talking to like a high school kid or a college kid, or even a young professional in their 20s, or my own, I'm thinking about my own granddaughters now. I have two granddaughters, and every person I talk to, I say as a recruiter and as a career coach, I say, look, I say, here's the best way to think about it. Any decision you make around a profession of something you think you might want to do for a living, you need to be asking yourself, can ChatGPT even do it a little bit right now? Can a physical robot even do it a little bit? Because if they can do it a little bit right now, in 10 years from now, they can probably do it really well. So choose your profession wisely, and don't be, for example, I wouldn't go to school to be a copywriter.
Right. Yeah.
There's certain things you would just stay away from, because it's going to be affected faster. Even if it's not good enough now, it will be. And so that's what I tell them. Just ask yourself where that job's going to be in 10 years. And remember, it's moving at light speed.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not a conspiracy guy, okay, in general. But I actually think they're holding ChatGPT 5 back for various reasons. I think they may be holding back because they're like, okay, the planet's not ready. It's gonna blow things up so fast that they're kind of like, oh man, maybe we should hold here for a second. Now, that's just me guessing. Somebody will listen to this and tell me I'm being crazy, but I mean, yeah, just choose your professions wisely. And for your daughter, yeah, I mean, by the time she gets in high school, who knows where we'll be?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, we didn't talk about soft skills, but I
Oh,
don't think AI tools will have soft skills the way humans do.
I
So
hope not.
the strongest, like the most important thing is empathy. So if you have good empathy as a human being, I think that will always distinguish you, even if ChatGPT or another AI tool can do something better than you do. Because the human interaction will never change. It will be there. It's going to be important. So,
I,
um,
I hope you're right, and I do agree. By the way, did you see there was an article in the Wall Street Journal, I think, didn't OpenAI recently release a statement saying they were a little bit concerned that people were already getting too attached to their agent and the sound of the voice talking back to them, and they're already a little bit concerned that people are getting too close to them and it's affecting. I saw something the other day, and I thought, oh yeah, okay, yeah, and they tied that into the epidemic of loneliness, and just so many people on the planet that are lonely, especially older people that are alone or whatever. And the article was fascinating because it talked about how it's a positive to a certain respect, because now you're helping lonely people, but there's also that weird twist where it's like, I don't know, is it,
you
maybe it's
encourage
bad.
that loneliness.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
we're living in a fascinating time, my friend.
Yes. We'll see. It's hard to anticipate what's going to come next. Um,
It is. You're going to be shipping lots of stuff for all these biotech companies, for all these robotics companies, for all these AI companies. Some very important shit going to be shipped by Mercury.
right. Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
Good time for you to be there. Good time for you guys to be in this business for sure.
Exactly. Yes. And it's a very niche business, so which really distinguishes us from others. Yes.
R2, I appreciate you being on the Riderflex podcast. Really appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It was great talking to you, Steve.